Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to Rope Break Radio episode 14. The esteemed panel, Alec Kozubski,
What's going on, guys?
Matt Donato,
What's going on, rope breakers?
and of course I'm AuSSy. Today we've got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to talk about a pretty big day here in news and rumors in the WWE. If you haven't noticed, Alec has been fast at work all day, making sure that the website is up to date for all the latest news and rumors for you guys, and some big stuff going on. Before we start, though, I want to let you guys know that you can join in the conversation tonight. Tonight, we will be opening up the Google Hangout to the best questions that we get. So the way you can do that is you can go on our YouTube page and comment right here on this video, and the best questions we will be selecting to join us on the show, and you'll be able to pop up, see your head, you'll be on the screen, all that kind of cool shit. You'll be famous. We'll make you famous, as Undertaker might say. So, what do you guys want to cover first? You guys want to talk about the new nation?
Definitely, let's talk about that. It's an awesome topic.
Why don't you kick it off then, Matt?
All right. So if you haven't read the article, what the hell are you doing? Come on, it's been up all day. The WWE, as rumor has it, obviously is not completely, not 100% sure, but it's pretty sure that it's, going to happen. WWE is going to be redoing a Nation of Domination type faction. As we saw on Raw last night, Xavier Woods got in the ring with Kofi Kingston and Big E, telling him we need to stop. I don't remember exactly what he said, but something to the gist of we need to kind of get our shit together and get back in this thing. And the rumors now are that they're going to be bringing back Mark Henry to be joining this faction. So it'll be a Nation of Domination-esque faction, like I said. Whether or not they're going to call it that, I have no idea. I honestly wouldn't mind them calling it Nation of Domination again. I think that'd be cool. And having Mark Henry in there passing the torch would be pretty great. It's just, for me, it's just now, where do they go from here? Now that they got this idea and they're pretty much packaging all these guys together, now where do they go? Who are they going to fight? Is anybody really credible on the roster that's going to get these guys over? Do they just come in and they're not a team per se as the Shield or the Wyatts, so it's not like they're going to be wrestling all at the same time, because there's, 4 of them now? Going to be maybe 5 if they add someone else. So for me, it's where do they go from here? They could, as we were saying before we went on the air, into another topic later on that they're going to be dropping. They might drop the Rusev Swagger angle. That's something we can talk about in a little bit. If they do drop that angle, is the Nation going to go against Rusev? I mean, that would make sense, as we were saying earlier, because Rusev has pretty much attacked all these guys. He's beaten all these guys, so it would make sense to kind of put them in a scenario against him. But just wondering what they're planning on now that they have they're grounding with this. They have all these guys packaged together. It's just who, other than Rusev, if that doesn't happen, who are they going to go against? How are they going to keep these guys relevant?
Yeah. I think the Nation of Domination is a good way to bring them back, but as far as into the light, relevant characters again, because a guy like Xavier Woods, and immediately when he came on Raw last night, I was like, what? The show's been great. Now you're gonna have effing Xavier Woods out here, and then it turned out to be an excellent segment, and I ended up saying I'm interested. I definitely want to see more out of that. But we'll see what happens. I think one guy that should be added, and I know we're saying it shouldn't be too many guys, but I think Titus O'Neil belongs in there. I think they need to do something with him. He's a big body, good-looking athlete, and I think he could be he could really benefit from being in that stable. What do you think, Alec?
I mean, yeah, definitely giving Titus O'Neil something to do would be beneficial to the new nation, but also to WWE because it gives a big-bodied guy in I guess a prominent position. He can talk, but it looks like they're shaping up for Xavier Woods to be the mouthpiece of that group. So I'm not entirely sure how that group is going to pan out, but adding Mark Henry, great idea. Throwing Titus O'Neil in there, another great idea. So if you have five, able wrestlers, I mean, anything is really possible. They could do tag team stuff, single stuff, like the Old Nation did. I mean, it's completely up in the air, and I'm excited to see what they do, and hopefully WWE doesn't drop the ball with it.
Yeah, and as far as Nation of Domination, I know Matt said he wouldn't necessarily mind if they even called it the Nation of Domination again. I'm interested to hear everybody's take on this. So if you want to tweet to us using the hashtag RBR14 for Rope Break Radio 14, I will announce what you guys are saying about the name. If not Nation of Domination, what should the name of the faction be? Interested to hear from you guys. But right now we've got Aaron Mason weighing in on YouTube. He says, how many times can Matt quit before it really happens? He's the Jericho of Rope Break.
Wow. Aaron Mason. I'll take it. I'm the Jericho of Rope Break. I like it. I don't know. You're going to have to keep tuning in to find out. How about that?
One thing I can confirm, Matt does not have the voice of Chris Jericho. Tried to hear, or I heard him, attempt a couple Fozzy songs. Wasn't pretty. He won't be making the Rope Break Christmas album. That's for sure.
No, it sounded like there was a cat getting run over in the road. Not to be graphic. That's what it sounded like.
Oh man. All right, well, let's move into our next topic here. Another article that was posted up on RopeBreakWrestling.com today talking about Bray Wyatt apparently, or supposedly, was supposed to win not last night, but Sunday night at Battleground against Chris Jericho. It's rumored that Vince McMahon himself made the switch and called for the Jericho victory there. And I'm interested to know what you think about that, Matt, because I know you were in agreement with me saying that Jericho was the right move. And I know Alec in the article noted that it was the right move. And ended up he did agree with it. I'm interested, though, what do you think about Vince making these last-second changes?
I think this one in particular was obviously I thought it was a great change because honestly, it's where else could they go from here after Wyatt beats him? If he were to beat him at Battleground, where else does he go? Would it be that interesting to see it again at SummerSlam, to see him lose again? And then they're also talking about carrying it on to Night of Champions, so they're set to have 3 separate matches. So if he lost that Battleground, would that make sense to want to see it again at SummerSlam where Bray Wyatt's going to beat him and then again at Night of Champions? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I think this change in particular was the right call, and I'm glad that they made it because it now makes it a much more meaningful matchup between the two going into SummerSlam. I think it depends on what the change is. I think him making last-minute changes aren't necessarily a bad thing, but like I said, it depends on what that change is. It's really hard to really say, to voice an opinion based on a change that hasn't been seen. Like I said, this particular change I thought was great. I thought it really benefited both guys in that scenario. So Vince made the right choice. Like if he was in fact the one to do it, because it's still just a rumor. But I like the change. I thought it was a good idea. And hopefully they make more decisions like this in the future because it's smart wrestling, in my opinion. It's smart wrestling.
What do you think about the whole ordeal, Alec?
I think Vince made the right call with the match. Because like you pointed out on Sunday that the victory at SummerSlam will be more meaningful, which is also pointed out in the article. So I don't have a problem with Vince making last-minute changes when necessary. I mean, we could sit here and argue all day what Vince has done right and what Vince has done wrong till we're blue in the face. But, you know, at the end of the day, Vince made a good call at the match, and in the end, in the long run, the feud will be more meaningful and more exciting to watch.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's, all there really is to it. And it seems that with Wyatt, we're looking at three-piece feuds here. Starting with Cena, we really saw, we're seeing a three pay-per-view feud. Like, it's dragged out for quite a while. And my question to you guys is, do you think that's good or bad for Wyatt? I almost feel like some of these feuds he needs to oust somebody. I mean, 2 pay-per-views is the norm for most feuds, but I feel like he needs to go out there and make a statement and make it so somebody doesn't want to face him again. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. To me, it's not necessarily the length; it's what he can accomplish as a character in that time frame. And honestly, he really hasn't accomplished enough for me to really. I mean, obviously he's got a great character. He's obviously amazing on the mic. And there are people who would disagree with me, and there are people who don't think he's good in the ring. I completely disagree, and I think he's extremely talented in the ring. I think his style is different. It's not as fast-paced, which is why I think people get a little turned off by it. It's not, your average Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, fast-paced, jumping off the rope style. And people nowadays don't have the attention span for it, and they get bored very easily, which sucks because these guys are really putting on great performances. But I don't think he's really done enough. I mean, who is he really beaten, like you said, to make you say, I don't want to face this guy? I know that he's like the cult leader and isn't supposed to have a strong backing. He's supposed to be like hollow in the sense. But I really wish, that I don't know if that translates well into wrestling because you need to have strong heels. They don't have very many strong heels. And this guy has the potential to be a strong heel. You just need to get him over. So I think that at SummerSlam, when I think it's inevitable that he's going to beat Jericho. That when he beats Jericho at SummerSlam, I think hopefully from there they take the initiative and really start building on him because he hasn't had a serious build other than his mic work is the only thing that's been building him this far.
And I want to actually refer to a tweet that Jim Ross or JR sent out last night during Raw. It's just going to take me here a second to find it. And it was in regards to Bray Wyatt. And he was tweeting a hell of a lot over the past 2 days. Come on, it's got to be anywhere here. Okay, here it is. Fans lighting up Miami for Bray Wyatt is called market research. I am Jericho should be the heel. Hashtag WWE Miami. So JR was once in charge of booking, says or thinks that because the fans are so behind Bray Wyatt, he should be the face and Jericho should be the heel. And I'm not sure I necessarily disagree with that. I think a lot of people think, and it's a big, I guess I would say a misconception. A lot of people assume that just because Bray Wyatt has a dark character, he needs to be a heel.
Right.
I couldn't disagree with that anymore. Case in point is The Undertaker, who has been face, for a long time now, even though he is, the dead man and the darkest character that WWE's ever created. And he was a baby face too for a long time. He was back and forth just as much as any other superstar in the day. So, I think if they really, really, really wanted to get Wyatt over and maximize his star value, I think Jericho as a heel might have been a little bit of a better choice because we know how good Jericho is at getting people over, especially as a heel. Go back to CM Punk and their feud there. Great heel work. Obviously, he's a great face. People love him regardless. But if he came back and was really hating on Bray Wyatt, I think he would have gotten over a lot as a heel, just because people are into that whole part-time, full-time. Hey, this guy's been here for a while now, busting his ass. Don't be hating. And I feel like Matt is in disagree mode here.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit of disagreement. And this is why I disagree a little bit with him being a babyface. It's kind of hard for me to picture it. Because his character, it's not the fact that his character is dark, because I completely agree with you on that. A dark character can absolutely be a babyface. Undertaker is a perfect example of that. But my stance is this. His character is based on tricking people and lying to them to get them to join his cult. So I don't see how that translates into being a babyface. Babyface, a good guy, doesn't trick people, doesn't, I have trouble. That's his whole gimmick, is tricking, getting the fans to like him, through his lies. That's his whole gimmick. So I don't see how that would translate into being a babyface. I mean, maybe you have other thoughts on that. I can't picture that myself.
Alec in disagree mode here in regards to Matt. So Alec, why don't you give your piece?
I mean, you want to talk about cult leader being lying, deception, all that. I mean, that's exactly how a cult leader works. It comes off as a nice person, nice guy who's gonna bring you in with his lies and deception and twist and contort your mind to believe in his beliefs. And working that as a babyface angle could be perfect, because you work that in and he could tell people lies and say, I'm going to save you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take this person out, and they'll people will feed into it and they'll believe it, and they'll cheer for him. And when and if he turns heel again, it's not really going to affect what the people think, because they've already bought into the character of Bray Wyatt. So I could see him being a babyface, anytime now.
Well, here's an interesting point.
What I was going to say is, I guess what you're saying is not, this is at least what I'm taking from that, is not necessarily that he'll be a full-fledged babyface, but that he'll be a heel disguised as a babyface, in a sense. To where he'll still be doing his gimmick, and people are loving him, but he's still underneath all of that, still kind of a heel.
Right.
But we're loving it. People are cheering him, because that's the whole part of the gimmick, is to get people to buy into him. Is that what you're?
Well, I'm not sure that we should read that much into heel and babyface, as far as a heel disguised as a babyface, or whatever. I think first off, if the guy's a heel, he's basically half heel and half face, because in today's day and age, if you're a heel, half the crowd likes you anyways. So, there's that just to begin with. But I think the way Alec is going at it is in the sense that he can't be a heel and a successful cult leader at the same time, if you really think about it, because being a heel is not necessarily just being a bad guy. At least in my interpretation of it, I think being a heel means the crowd does not like you.
Right.
That's how I would interpret it. That's up for discussion. That's a totally debatable point there.
No, I completely agree with you on that. You're right.
I also think that, like Alec was saying, if he's being a successful cult leader, then people do like him. People are buying his shtick, blah, blah, blah. They're following the buzzards. They're mindless. They're being brainwashed, whatever. Sort of like John Cena's done for the past 10 years.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I was getting at. That's what I meant by, like, a heel, a heel pretending to be a babyface kind of deal. I know that was kind of getting, like you said, a little too deep into it, but that's pretty much the gist that I got as well, is, that's the whole point of being a cult leader, is to get people to like you, and once they like you, you're successful as a cult leader. So I guess that makes perfect sense, and I definitely, the wheels are turning.
But here's another little question, though, and that's, shit, don't tell me I just lost it. Oh yeah, you had alluded to him, as a cult leader, lying and tricking people. My question is, has he really been doing that, though? I know his gimmick is supposed to be that of a cult leader, but in his promos, I don't really see much lying at all. I mean, especially in the feud with John Cena, all he was saying was, they've been lying to you, man, blah, blah, saying a bunch of shit about a hero. I feel like he was almost being more of a realist and just shattering everybody's dreams. Like, hey, listen, the real world's ugly as shit. You know what I mean? It's not all purple shirts, orange shirts, and fruity pebbles.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. I mean, that in particular, his Cena, rivalry was definitely less of a cult leader, and especially for guys like us who are bored with Cena. That was definitely a huge pop for us and really got us interested in the Bray Wyatt character, even though us three guys were already invested, to begin with. But I look at it as, I don't know, he's kind of using how people already feel about Cena against them to join him for his own selfish. That's kind of what I see a cult leader being. Not necessarily tricking in that sense, because that's kind of obvious at times. When you try to trick somebody, that can be obvious. The way I see a cult leader is somebody who uses how you already feel against you. You know what I mean? Like, we already hate Cena, and he's using that to get us to join him for his own selfish needs. Selfish. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Yeah,
That's kind of the way I view a cult leader.
Yeah, it's deception. That's all it is.
Exactly, and that's deception. That's why I see it difficult in my mind. But the more you guys talk about it, a good cult leader, not necessarily that he'll be a full-fledged babyface, but that he'll appear that way, because that's what a good cult leader is. Somebody who gets people to like him, because that's how a cult leader should work. Everybody should be cheering for him, because that's what he wants. Ultimately, that makes him successful.
Yeah, I think basically what you're saying, Matt, is he can be a baby face but a bad guy at the same time. That is possible, at least in my eyes. I mean, think of how much more over Randy Orton is as a heel.
Yep.
And as a baby face, you know what I mean? Like, and again, the line is very blurred between heel and bad and face and good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's really up for discussion whether or not people think is a face John Cena because he's a good guy, or is a face CM Punk because he's over with the crowd. That's something that maybe our fans here can help us out with. If you've got your own interpretation, let us know, because we're obviously just three fans just like you guys. So why don't you just let us know what you're thinking? And we do have some people weighing in on YouTube here. Aaron Mason says, I think it's bad when they book it badly. Cena wins at WrestleMania 30? No. Wyatt should have won, which is why Jericho is 10 times better than Cena. I think when he first came in, he was heel because nobody wanted to believe it. After a few months, everyone started listening to him and realized he was right. And I think Matt's argument is he really right, or is he just tricking you into believing that he's right, and you're playing pawn to him?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I think. Right. That's exactly what I think the character is. Is he like, that's the deception. Like, he's telling you the truth, in order to gain your trust. He keeps saying all this real stuff about, we're bored with Cena, we're tired of you playing the hero, and everybody's like, yeah, I love Bray Wyatt, let's go buy his merchandise. Obviously, not to sound like too much of a mark, because obviously I know he's not really a cult leader. He's got, at least I hope he is not. Got a couple kids at home and a wife. Originally Husky Harris, for those of you who didn't know that. I don't know how the hell you wouldn't know that, living in a cave. Anyway, but yeah, I just feel like that's what the character is based off of, using that deception, like, Cena is this and that and this, and we're all like, yes, we love you, Bray, now we're going to buy your merchandise, we're wearing your shirt, we're part of your cult now. And that's what a leader does. They use the truth, to gain your trust. That's kind of the way I view it anyway.
And now, since I have the moment to kind of slip this in there, Matt, I know in the past you have been against Bray Wyatt on the big screen saying, Miami, we're here. Question is, though, the way that you're explaining it doesn't make sense for him to want to get the people all excited and everything if he's, really just some cult leader that is, tricking people into believing shit, stuff like that. Is that just another realm of his, getting over with the crowd and tricking them into thinking he's what's right with the world.
No, you're absolutely right. And you're right. I didn't like it at first. I didn't quite understand it. I'm like, he's supposed to be a heel. I went into my like traditionalist. No, this guy's a heel. He needs to get heat. This is how you do it, not by pandering to the crowd. But the more that me and you talked, and me and Alec talked, and we all talked about it, and you guys started making some sense that he's a cult leader. This is what he's supposed to do.
Mhm.
Now I'm getting it. I understand what it's about, and it makes sense to me now. So now, I get it.
And I think there has been some development behind that character too. It's not just it hasn't always been cut and dry like it is now, where we understand. We've had to learn and kind of watch the Bray Wyatt character grow for a little while. And I think at this point with the Jericho feud, we know what we're getting out of Bray Wyatt. So more people tuning in and debating on YouTube. Chris Real Life, last night's winner of the Brock Lesnar picture. How you doing, Chris? He says, I agree with AuSSy. Of course you do. Not really sure why you agree just with me, though, because we're kind of all in agreement here, it seems. But Aaron Mason then
Yeah, damn it.
commenting back, saying, CM Punk back in the day when he had the Hardy feud, nobody liked him at all because Punk wasn't over with the crowd. It's all to do with if the crowd likes him. Nowadays, Punk was loved both ways. Good point.
Yep, that's a good point.
That's a good point. And I think it's been said that the business terminology, the way that they view it within the business of heel and babyface, is how the crowd reacts to you. Even if you're booked as a babyface and the crowd is booing you and throwing shit at you, you're a heel, no matter how you're being booked. So I think that's at least how the business sees it.
Right, and they haven't always seen it that way. The real beginning of that whole theory, I believe, comes from the beginning of the Attitude Era when the whole fan base just kind of swerved the company. Like, we like so-and-so, but we like Stone Cold a little bit more. Why? Because he's not necessarily an asshole. He's just an everyday guy like me.
Yep.
So, that was what forced them to say, okay, Stone Cold, you're a babyface. But in the beginning of Stone Cold's run, he was getting a lot of heat, a lot of legitimate heat. And I know that Stone Cold was actually upset when people started cheering him because the way he saw it, he wasn't doing his job the right way if he was supposed to be a heel and people were cheering for him. And I think over the course of time, that's really changed because nowadays we see a lot of the heels getting cheered, and I don't really think it matters to them either way as long as they're getting some type of crowd reaction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, the lack of relatable characters in the business today. There's a lot of interesting characters like Bray Wyatt, but none of us can really relate necessarily to Bray Wyatt in one sense anyway, to the character as a whole. Like, none of us are cult leaders. So we don't know necessarily, we've never been in his shoes. When Stone Cold popped into the business, we're like, oh shit, here's a guy drinking beers, stunning his boss. Like, hell yeah, this is what wrestling is about. We can relate to this guy.
Exactly what people wanted to be.
Right,
he was exactly what everybody wanted to be.
Yep.
I mean, the same thing could be said for Punk, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, I think that's why he was and still, in my opinion, is still over with most of the crowd. I mean, you still got those people who hate the guy, and I don't freaking understand it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, enough about that guy.
Well, I think Bray Wyatt's relatable in the sense of the stuff that he says. Some of the people believe that already. But I agree with you, Matt. He's not, relatable as a whole. There is one character right now that is 110% relatable to the crowd, and it's Dean Ambrose. Ambrose is that guy right now that it's like everybody has a friend that screwed them over, in the past, and everybody's wanted to get revenge, you know what I mean, at one point or another in their life. So I think a lot of the WWE Universe can live through Dean Ambrose right now in his current role. And then as far as Roman Reigns goes, a lot of people want to be him, you know what I mean? Wow, chicks dig him, he's huge, he's jacked, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I feel like a Roman Reigns is still a little bit more of on the cartoony gimmick side, in the fact that he's this superhuman that nobody can touch. And I think that's a little bit of a dangerous route for them to go with him. But as far as relatable goes, no denying it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Dean Ambrose has got to be the most relatable character in WWE right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, he definitely. I don't know. I think John Cena is a little bit more relatable.
I think you're fired.
Yeah, anybody that can put headbands around their biceps, that's relatable. All right, well, I guess we can probably move on from this topic now, as we've rambled on for quite a while. What I want to do is remind those that are watching right now, got a small fan base today, but those of you that are watching, you can submit your questions on YouTube, and if you want to, you can join our show. I will send you the link so you can join our show, and you can pop up on the screen, ask your question, and debate the topic with the rope breakers right here. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, I highly suggest asking us a question either on Twitter. Actually, you know what? Do it on Twitter. If you submit a question and the rope breakers are digging it, we will follow you back and we will direct message you the link to join the Hangout, to ask us the question. You can ask a question to any of us or all of us, whatever it may be, wrestling related or not. So go ahead and do that, and obviously our Twitter handle is right there, at Rope Break Wrestling. But in the meantime, the next bit that we're going to get into is the Jack Swagger and Alexander Rusev feud. Apparently it's done, and I want Alec to kick off the conversation on this here.
I'm very disappointed that they decided to drop it. I know we talked about on the React show on Sunday how there could be controversy over it, and there was. The media outlets and the news outlets picked up on it, saying, well, Layla mentioned the most recent Malaysian airline crash over the Ukraine and all that other garbage, and you knew it was going to happen, and the fact that WWE kind of was running scared, saying, "Oh no, we can't do this anymore because it's mainstream media now." Like, I mean, it's bullshit. Like, why drop something that was so good? I mean, I'm not a big Jack Swagger fan, but Jack Swagger was finally gaining some momentum. Rusev was gaining some momentum. Now you've got you drop both guys dead in the water. It's ridiculous. So I hope it's not gone, but if it is, stupid move. Stupid move.
Yeah, and basically, all I need to say to that is ditto. I think Alec wrapped it up in a nutshell there. I think you did mean to say Lana and said Layla,
yeah.
Which I can't fault you for because right before we went on air, I was fiercely watching the Layla GIF that we have up courtesy of Matt. Thank you once again, Matt. The Layla GIFs that we've got up there of her dancing. I'm not Ron Simmons, but damn. Matt, why don't you serve up your opinion here on the Rusev feud possibly being done here?
Oh man, Alec summed it up beautifully. I mean, this was a great feud. For the first time, I think in his entire career, I was actually interested in Jack Swagger a little bit. I popped for him a little bit when he came out to challenge Rusev for the first time. It's finally like, first time I'm like, oh shit, awesome, it's Jack Swagger. Normally I'm like, oh shit, it's Jack Swagger. So this is a great feud. I mean, they could be doing so much more with it. I really hope that they don't. I hope they don't end it. And like Alec alluded to with the whole Malaysian airline gaffe, I mean, she really didn't say it by name, and I think she said, if I'm correct, was like, it was like that America's blaming them or something like that.
Yeah,
but they didn't,
America's blaming us for recent events. That's what she said.
Yeah.
That's very generalized. I mean, that's not like, they're blaming us for killing the, like, they didn't go into detail. It's a show. You know what I mean? People take it way too seriously. I mean, like you said before, do you go and watch movies and get pissed at at the directors for writing this into movies. You know, when they make a movie about 9/11, are you gonna go and boycott it and, you know, go on your computer, be a keyboard warrior and start yelling at people? Oh, that's unacceptable. Like, no, come on, this show. If you don't know that by now, either you're 12 years old, no offense, Jose.
Oh man.
Or you're absolutely ignorant, and it's time for adults who, you know, really, I mean, it's one thing to, you know, to buy into it and really enjoy it. That's fine, but like if you're really like, ah, Triple H is a real jerk. I can't believe he didn't go bail his wife out of jail. Really? If you're that kind of guy and you're an adult, reevaluate your life, because that's ridiculous. But with that being said, it's a show. They didn't allude to anything specific. They were very vague about it. They're building up a storyline that they've been doing for 3 months, and nobody had a problem with it before. Now all of a sudden they allude to issues. I mean, we were blaming Russia for things 3 months ago as well. You know, It's just ridiculous how PC, you know, not just the wrestling fan base, but it's ridiculous. It's a show, and I don't think that they should end awesome feud. We're finally getting it compelling. This is stuff that came out of the Attitude. I've said it before. This whole showing Putin on the frickin' Titantron is awesome. That's stuff they used to do all the time. This is really, you know, gritty stuff. I mean, things that they wouldn't. This is raw. This is stuff that they haven't done in years because it's so controversial. I love it.
Exactly, just like you said it. This is raw. Anyways,
exactly.
The big point and the big problem that I have here is, guess who it is that's making a big deal out of it? The people that are always online or in front of their kids or wherever. What do they say about WWE? It's fake. It's not real. You watch that stuff, it's fake. But then when they touch on a topic that you don't like, suddenly it's real. Suddenly they're saying real shit. And they've got real opinions on real problems. And you don't like it? Well, I'm confused. Doesn't make any sense to me. You have to get on one side of the fence or the other here.
Yeah.
Really, like Alec said, it's a bunch of bullshit. And like Matt has said before, we can't have nice things because of people like you. Suddenly, jackasses all over the blog world, because really, I'm not going to say necessarily mainstream media, but it's also these bloggers that feel the need to give their opinion on every single little thing. Guess what? We don't give a shit. We don't care what the mainstream media thinks. I don't care what some jabroni-ass blogger choking on a banana thinks. All I care about is the fact that, like Alec and like Matt have both alluded to, this was a great feud. We were building good TV, entertainment, fake, phony, whatever you want to call it. It's not real. They're not real Russians. Matter of fact, Rusev is Bulgarian in real life. Lana's from Florida. I mean, I just don't get it. How can you, on one hand, just bury the shit and say it's fake, it's stupid, why do you watch it? But then the second they do something that you don't like, suddenly you're going to hop in and you're going to, give your opinions on it. It doesn't work that way. If you don't like it, don't watch it, end of story, period.
Yep. Absolutely agree. It's bullshit. And it's the same thing with, all these people who, that complain about, oh, Raw sucks. Oh, WWE's really gone downhill. And when we have a compelling show, like last night, I don't know how anybody didn't find that entertaining. I don't understand it. I was reading a lot of comments even on our Facebook page, and a lot of people were like, it really wasn't that great of a show. I'm like, what does it take to entertain you? I was like, because they had a lot of great segments, they had a lot of great wrestling matches. I don't know what else they need to do to really entertain you. It just blows my mind. And these are the same people complaining day in and day out about how much it sucks. Like, these people can't be satisfied.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's like the old saying goes. Some people just can't be pleased. Some people are out here looking for Stone Cold Steve Austin to show up and Stunner CM Punk in the middle of the ring while JR's on commentary. It's just not going to happen. People have these certain expectations. Just enjoy what's going on. Be entertained. Don't even have to be sports entertainment. It really goes to the whole Flow Rida thing. People are acting like that ruined the show. You've got to be absolutely effing kidding me if you think that ruined the show. Because guess what? Do I like Flow Rida? No, I don't. I don't like his songs. I don't like his music. Yes, he played the same shit that he played at WrestleMania 28, blah, 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 blah. But you've got these idiots, these people that don't get it. They can't grasp it, saying, oh, they had to cut, people. They had to cut Ricky the Dragon Steamboat just so they can bring Flow Rida in. Are you stupid?
Do you allude on that real quick? To throw in a quick interjection, not to interrupt you, throw in a quick interjection. Steamboat is actually not fired. Apparently he came back. They re-signed him. They're actually saying that because he had a bunch of other dates planned that were that would coincide with being released from WWE, a lot of outside things that he booked, and then he had to cancel his bookings, and then told them to go through WWE in order to, if they still wanted him there. So he got his job back, and they're saying that they think that that's Triple H because Triple H is really high on the guy, which is good with me. I like Steamboat. I think he adds something there. I just want to throw that quick interjection in there.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, yeah, we're glad that Steamboat's back, but the notion that the cuts are happening so that they can bring in mainstream stars like Flo Rida, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Wolverine, whatever, Aaron Paul. It's an absolute joke. You people are stupid. It's called advertising. The same way that, who was it? The Adam Rose thing. What did he promote?
Twisted Tea, Sonic.
Sonic
his movie,
and Twisted Tea. They're both. Sonic and Twisted Tea are both promoted on separate Raws. Nobody's saying, hey, they must have had to cut JTG so that they could promote Twisted Tea. What? No, the same thing happens to these movie stars. They come on Raw to promote their movie. Raw does not say, hey, can we get Aaron Paul to come up on our show to promote Fast and Furious or Need for Speed, whatever that stupid-ass movie was? No.
Yeah.
Are you that shallow and stupid that you think they're paying Flo Rida $1 million to come and play 3 songs that he's already played before? No. Flo Rida happens to be a huge WWE fan. They're in Miami. They're saying, it's the kickoff to SummerSlam. Hey, Flo Rida, you want to come over and play? I guarantee you they didn't even pay him jack shit.
Yeah, for the record, if you think that JTG got cut so that they could bring these guys in, JTG got cut because he's JTG. That's why he got cut.
No, he got cut because they didn't have enough money. Yeah, that money. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you, though. My only disagreement is not that, obviously Flo Rida wasn't there because, they're making cuts because, they want to bring all these guys in to get mainstream attention. I'm sure that Vince McMahon is kind of licking his chops at this, knowing he's getting mainstream attention, and I'm sure that is brought up. But I don't think that's the reason that they bring these guys in. My issue with Flo Rida being there is not, obviously I don't like I'm not a fan of his stuff either. My only issue with Flo Rida being there is, I wish he played less songs. I wish he only played one. And like I said on Facebook, I replied to your comment about it, was guys like Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they were there. And they were part of at least a wrestling segment. It wasn't a good wrestling segment, but at least it kind of flowed with the show. And I get where you're coming from. They're building up to SummerSlam. That makes sense. I kind of just wish he sang, because in my opinion, those 5 minutes that he used to sing 3 songs that nobody wanted to hear, they could have had the tag team champions out there. If he only played one song, they still could have made some space for it.
Right.
I just think it was a little too long.
You're right in that sense that they could have used the time for something else. But he was technically involved in a wrestling bit by pushing Heath Slater off. But my argument here is there's a lot of immediate heat on Flo Rida because, as we all know, the WWE universe is historically not hip hop fans. And I'm not necessarily saying that Flo Rida is hip hop. I am a hip hop fan. I'm a rock fan. I like everything but country. Where was the heat when Florida Georgia Line came on for Raw Country? I didn't see that because that absolutely sucked. That was just as bad, if not worse, than Flo Rida, and nobody was talking shit then. Then my other argument is that, like Matt says, Wolverine, whatever the fuck that actor name is, I'm just gonna keep calling him Wolverine. I forget his real name. I want to say Hackman, but I feel like that's the wrong actor.
No, it's Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
I always get him and Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, yep, I do the same thing.
But anyways, I would argue that I don't want them in a wrestling segment. What good is it for Kevin Hart to come on, fall backwards, and be a rosebud for 1 week, and then we don't see him ever again? It's stupid. I would have rather had Kevin Hart come on and tell 2 or 3 of his shitty, overrated jokes and leave. I guess really what they're shooting for when they bring in celebrities and stars like that is they want mainstream eyes. They want a Flo Rida fan to go, oh, Flo Rida's on Raw tonight. I'm going to tune in from MTV to Raw to watch Flo Rida perform. Or I'm going to tune in from Sci-Fi to watch Raw because Wolverine is on. Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they're shooting for. They're not trying to impress you and I, which, yeah, that's an annoyable, that's annoying or whatever. But it's also, like many people said, and Alec noted, it's a piss break. There's always one in the show. If you don't like it, get up or change the channel for a brief minute. But don't even begin to tell me that ruined the whole show, because that's just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it definitely didn't ruin the whole show. You're absolutely right on that. And yeah, I don't like it. That annoys me though. The whole. It's like how I feel like guys backstage this notion that as soon as they have a product that's so amazing that they're gonna get mainstream eyes on it, people who don't watch wrestling, and they're gonna fall in love with it, and now they have a fan for life. And it's like that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
It's like I was like, if somebody doesn't like wrestling, and I don't think they get this idea that if somebody doesn't like wrestling, they're probably not going to like wrestling. Move on. But Vince, I feel like he keeps trying. I've heard somewhere before that he thinks that, and I don't know how accurate this is, but he feels like not enough people know about the product, so that's why he jumped on the Twitter bandwagon and doing all these heavy social media stuff, is because he doesn't feel like enough people know about the product. I'm like, no, people know about your product, but those people who know and don't watch, they don't give a shit. That's why they're not watching. They don't like wrestling, and they're not going to. Stop pandering to them and give the fans who've been watching for 20, 30-plus years, throw us a bone. Give us something good.
And they did give us something good. Like, let me say this. If Flo Rida had to perform the same 3 songs every single Monday Night Raw, but we got the Monday Night Raw that we got this past week, I would take it. I'd settle for it immediately.
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Because, like you said, it's a piss break. You can get up and walk away. You don't have to watch it. You can turn the channel real quick, and when you go back up, Raw's back on, then we got other wrestlers. And, another thing I wanted to just throw in there, because there's been rumors floating around that they're really stacking. I don't know if it's a house show before SummerSlam or it's a house show coming up. I forget where exactly it is, but they're stacking it because I think it's the end of the network period, and it's coming into SummerSlam. Is it Night of Champions?
Night of Champions is the last show.
That's the last one before. Okay.
No, it's not. It's not the last show. Sorry, I believe Night of Champions would be the first pay-per-view on the new subscription. So they're going to try and stack the hell out of that pay-per-view so that people subscribe so that they can see it.
Well, it's not even the pay-per-view. They want to stack the hell out of one of the house shows, and they're having like all these awesome things happen. And to me, that's just like. What that says to me is they care more about, and I get it's a business, and I'm completely copacetic with that. I get it. It's a business. You need to make money. That's how it works. But when you care more about getting subscriptions and making money than you do about putting out a solid product, I think that's where they're falling short. They're stacking this house show that's live, but it's not televised. They're having. I know you personally, I don't give. I mean, it is a big draw because they're having Hogan and Flair there in the ring at the same time. Obviously, they're not going to wrestle. God damn, I hope they don't wrestle. Shit, that'd be terrible. I wouldn't be able to see it, and I would still cancel my subscription if that shit happened. But I think that says to me that they give a shit more about making money than they do giving us a solid product. I think that goes hand in hand, and business-wise, they should know that. Giving a solid product, that's going to give you your revenue, period. But they're stacking the show. They're leaving. Last week's Raw was great, obviously, but some of these Raws have been kind of hit and miss. Besides last week's, some of them are a little bit hit and miss. And I feel like, why aren't we stacking every Raw? Why are we doing this for the house show just because you want subscriptions for your network? To me, that's.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where you read that. I haven't seen that, but that makes zero sense to me.
I read it on.
It makes zero sense for me to stack a house show and nobody sees it. How's that going to equate to subscriptions?
Right, that's what I'm saying. It was on Wrestling Inc. or something like that. It was one of those sites. I think it was Wrestling Inc. I read it on. It was they're stacking that house show, and I'm like, why? It makes no sense. It's because they want subscriptions. They want people to buy into it. They want people to say wow, this is awesome. I think it's coming up to the new subscription or something like that. So it might be after Night of Champions. I'm not exactly sure. But I know I read it was because they're trying to get subscription ratings up. They're trying to get people subscribe to the network. And I'm like,
whoever wrote it, I'm not sure I necessarily believe that rumor. I mean, I totally understand and believe that they're getting set to stack up that Night of Champions pay-per-view and they'll probably stack the last Raw and SmackDown before it just because they want people to buy into that Night of Champions pay-per-view, which would in turn renew their 6-month, subscription. But, like you're saying, Matt, makes zero sense for them to stack a house show if they want to get subscriptions. That makes zero sense. I have to almost question Wrestling Inc., which wouldn't be the first time I've questioned them before.
But I mean, even going on. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say one of the reasons why we started Rope Break Wrestling, just because some of these other sites are questionable sometimes. The only source that we use here at Rope Break Wrestling that is also a direct competitor to us is basically Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer, F4W Online. They run the world. They've got legitimate inside sources. Dave Meltzer's been doing this for 30, 40 years now. So that guy is credible to me. Some fat slob, sweating and sitting on his couch, and he goes, Hogan is going to be there. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm always believing them. That's one of the reasons why we started this show or not this show, but this site was to let you guys know, hey, this is what's legitimate here because we know what the hell we're talking about.
Exactly. But even going as far as stacking the pay-per-view, stacking Night of Champions, that in itself doesn't make sense to me. It's going to be probably, if they're going to stack it like they're saying there, it might be a great pay-per-view, but they're only stacking it to get the subscriptions. They're not. I mean, they don't give a shit about it anything other than getting the subscriptions. That's what I'm getting from you. You know what I mean? It does seem like they want to put on a solid show. They're only putting on a solid show because we need to get ratings. But through Monday Night Raw can suck and the other pay-per-views can blow. I don't give a shit. We don't need to stack those because this is, we're getting subscriptions. I'm like, really?
Even though it seems new, even though it seems like a new feeling for them to stack shit and do stuff like that, it has been going around since the beginning of the pay-per-view era, just because before the network, they were trying to stack some shows so that does one of you guys have a laggy speakers or something? I can hear myself talking in your. Okay. Anyways.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I can hear myself out of your computer speakers, but shit. Where was I? Oh, pay-per-views. They've been doing it for pay-per-view buy rates. They're like, oh, we want to do we want to have this pay-per-view be loaded so we get more buys on the pay-per-view. And you're right, Matt. It should just be more about, hey, if you just worry about giving a good show, then the rest of the stuff will come along with it.
Yep.
So, a couple things here before we sign off. We've got 5 minutes left here. Aaron Mason has been a trooper, sticking with us the entire show. It appears that nobody wants to join us on the hangout here. Maybe we're just a little bit too intimidating. What do you think, Alec? Think people are scared?
Yeah, I think they're scared to come on the show and debate with us. Maybe we'll chew them up and spit them out. I don't know. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Every week on Rope Break Radio, which is our flagship podcast, we will allow you the opportunity to join our show and debate something, so your face and your voice can be heard live on the show in front of all the viewers. Every single Tuesday. We usually do it Tuesday or Wednesdays, but Rope Break Radio is a show you can hop on. Aaron Mason says they did the same thing with Punk, and Matt alluded to this yesterday. Best in the world, just as the 7-day free trial ended. They showed the documentary and his WrestleMania rewind.
Right.
So they essentially wanted people to hop on and sign on. Which, guess what? I can't disagree with that, because, and I know Matt said this too, it is a business. They are trying to make money, and right now they're competing with illegal streams, where you can see the shit all the time. The illegal stream doesn't really make sense to me for the WWE Network, because there's so much more that you can get with the network than just what's playing live. And $10 a month is, one trip to McDonald's. I've said that before. I know some of our viewers are from overseas, and they don't get to have that opportunity yet. But that's because of the people in the United States that refuse to pay and are watching it illegally. If they just paid and they got up to that million subscribership that they wanted, then it would probably be already overseas. But anyways, I want to cover as our last topic here. It's Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid's, was it 49th birthday?
Yep, 49.
Big 4-9. Next year he'll be 50 years old.
Wow.
And I wanted to go around the panel here and discuss everybody's favorite HBK match and moment and why. We'll start with Alec.
Oh man, that is tough. That is tough. I mean, I don't know if I could pick a favorite match. I mean, just because he's had a storied career.
I mean, one for me has to stand out for you is WrestleMania 25.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think both of those matches were, phenomenal. Also, his match with Bret Hart, the Iron Man match, was great. The obviously the classic Razor Shawn, ladder match, which kicked it all off, was great. I mean, there's so many to choose from.
You're right.
It's just tough.
And we're just talking about WrestleMania matches too, right there.
Yeah.
There's other matches, and people said it on our Facebook page. There's other matches. You think about In Your House versus Mick Foley. Just some great matches out there from the Heartbreak Kid, who is arguably the best worker of all time. Is there anything though, Alec, that really sticks out? Like, what do you? If I had to say, remember Shawn Michaels by one moment, even if it's not a match, what's one thing that stands out to you about Shawn Michaels?
I think it's just, the passion he had for the business. Sure, early in, his career, he was kind of an asshole, drugged out, whatever. But when he came back that second time and really put his heart into it, he did a lot of, special things, put on a lot of great matches, cut a lot of great promos. He was someone you wanted to watch every single week. So I just think his dedication to the business, he didn't earn the name Mr. WrestleMania for nothing. So really, it's his dedication and passion to the business that just really makes him a legend.
Definitely, and we're about to go into overtime here, but that's what we're all about, is giving the people what they want. We're going to hang with you guys for a couple extra minutes here as we discuss Shawn Michaels and our favorite moments and memories of Shawn Michaels in commemoration of his 49th birthday. Matt, what do you think First off, if you have a favorite Shawn Michaels match, let us know what it is and why. And then, like I said to Alec, a memory, a moment, or just something that sticks out about Shawn Michaels to you.
See on my little thing down below, Shawn Michaels' name is favorite all time. And that's one of my favorite all time. Love Shawn Michaels. In my opinion, greatest in-ring performer of all time. It's arguable. I don't think it's arguable. I think he is the greatest in-ring performer of all time. That's just me. Anyway, favorite match has to be the 60-man Iron Man match against Bret Hart, WrestleMania 12. It's my all-time favorite. Being a traditionalist, liking real, that mat wrestling. I mean, it had all aspects of a great match. It had that, that catch wrestling, that mat wrestling that I personally love. It had a lot of great moments, where he super kicked the timekeeper when Bret Hart jumps out of the way and he super kicks the timekeeper. Perfect little spots like that, and they were able to keep that's not something easy to do. To keep a match 60. Most guys can't carry a 10-minute match. These guys carried it for 60 minutes, and I thought they did it perfectly. They built it up slow. Just all around great, beautiful match. And the moment obviously sticks out in my mind when you tell me to remember Shawn Michaels is a super kick through the barbershop window to Marty Jannetty. Turning and breaking up the rock.
He tried to escape.
And then you got Bobby the Brain Heenan, over on commentating. He tried to throw himself through the window to escape. Did you see that? One of my favorite calls in wrestling history. He threw himself through the window to escape. Gotta love it. There's a great moment in history. That's what I think of Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels has done it all. And like Alec alluded to, yeah, he was an asshole in the beginning. He was drugged up, but he really came back, that second time and really proved that he loved his business, and had an infinity. And like you said, there are so many matches. I mean, we can even say the Iron Man match he had with John Cena on Raw. That's another one of my all-time favorite matches. I don't know if that was even mentioned in Facebook, but I think people forget about that one. I think it's very underrated. I think that match was an incredible match, and it was on a Monday Night Raw, which is not something you see anymore. That's an underrated match in my opinion, and I love that one too. But I got to go WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match with Bret Hart, and then obviously kicking Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window. Brilliant.
Yeah, two excellent choices, and it's fun to sit here and talk about a guy like Shawn Michaels, especially being the generation and the era that we grew up in. Shawn Michaels, we saw him in the very beginning of our wrestling fandom careers.
Yeah.
As that asshole, even though we didn't see that aspect until later on. And then, really, as we evolved as wrestling fans, HBK comes back and, like Alex said, really puts his heart into it and really does a lot of groundbreaking and great things for the business. Before I give mine, Aaron Mason weighing in on YouTube, his favorite Shawn Michaels match is HBK versus Stone Cold WrestleMania 14. Of course, his last match there before his hiatus when he passes the torch to Stone Cold Steve Austin. A lot of controversy around that match.
Yep.
And if you ask Shawn Michaels, I believe that's one of his least favorite matches of all time. Stone Cold as well has said that he doesn't really care for that match, which is surprising because it seems like just about every fan loves that match. I don't know if it's just because of Tyson being involved, the DX era, Shawn Michaels, his last hurrah, or the coronation of the Austin era. But both of those guys have said and have been on record saying that match could have been a lot better than it was. Michaels was working with a hurt back in that match. But for me, let me just give you a quick rundown of Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania matches. Now, this list is more lengthy and in-depth and has more great matches alone than some people's careers had. And when I say some people, I mean most people. WrestleMania 5, the Twin Towers, which was Big Boss Man and Akeem, versus the Rockers, HBK and Marty Jannetty. WrestleMania 6, he was again with the Rockers versus the Orient Express. WrestleMania 7, Rockers versus Barbarian and Haku with Bobby the Brain. Then at WrestleMania 8, he makes his singles debut with Sensational Sherry against El Matador Tito Santana. And I say El Matador, people were getting excited. It was the Los Matadores there. WrestleMania 9, he wrestles Tatanaka. WrestleMania 10, obviously the storied matchup between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, the big ladder match there. Not the first ladder match. A lot of people, some reason, a lot of people think that that's the first ladder match. No, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. They actually had a ladder match for the WWF prior to that. It was an idea conceived by Bret Hart from Stampede Wrestling. WrestleMania 11, Diesel versus Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 12, obviously, the storied matchup with Bret Hart in the 60-minute Iron Man match. Sorry. WrestleMania 13 against, he was only on commentary for the Undertaker-Sid main event. 14 against Austin. 19, here's where that second run begins at WrestleMania 19. And this is where you see, just from here to the end, legendary matches. Against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 19. Against Chris Benoit and Triple H at WrestleMania 20. Here's one of my personal favorites that's always left off of the best discussion for Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 21, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania Goes Hollywood. WrestleMania 21, an excellent, excellent match. So underrated. Go back and watch that one. If you guys haven't seen that match for whatever reason, please go and watch it on YouTube, of course, after the show. WrestleMania 22, HBK versus Vince McMahon. And you ask yourself, Vince McMahon? Yes, those two actually had a legendary battle. And nobody else could have made a match with Vince McMahon work like that, especially at his age then. But Shawn Michaels, you have that memory stamped in your head of HBK with the freaking elbow drop off the ladder onto McMahon, who had his head covered by a trash can. Yep. Great moment. And then, arguably, and I'm going to choose this match, but I don't think, necessarily that this was his greatest match, but I think his greatest, I don't know what I want to say, but his greatest deed to the company is WrestleMania 23 versus John Cena. A great match. He loses by submission to John Cena. And let me tell you something. That right there legitimizes John Cena as one of the greatest of all time. If nothing else, I know he had already beaten Triple H, I think, at WrestleMania 22. But up until that point, he had only had Big Show, JBL, and then Triple H. WrestleMania 23, he beats Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania, the showstopper, and that, from there on, is the uphill climb into what John Cena has become now. So I'm going to choose WrestleMania 23 in the deed that he did for John Cena and for the company there, passing the torch, in a match where, by the way, I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but Shawn Michaels was not originally slated to be in that match. It was originally going to be Triple H in that match. Triple H tears his quad for the second time, and he cannot be in that match, so they build with his DX partner, Shawn Michaels, instead. WrestleMania 24, obviously, iconic as he retires Ric Flair. And then 25, Undertaker. 26, Undertaker. And that's it. Undertaker retires him there at 26. So a storied WrestleMania career. And when I think Shawn Michaels, the first thing that comes to my mind is him just, being a jackass, humping the ring, sticking the Canadian flag in his nose, stuff like that. And it's not to say that I, remember him as a bad person. I remember him as being the real and the official Kickstarter of the Attitude Era. The founder of D-Generation X, he's really the pioneer of that era and a whole different generation of wrestling. Before that, we had only seen Bret Hart as a small guy champion. Shawn Michaels totally defined an era, and I oftentimes think of what would have happened if he didn't take that break. We could be talking. I know a lot of people already say he might be the greatest of all time, but I think if he was there for that period of 4 years, we could really legitimately talking about the greatest superstar of all time. I know I just talked for like an hour and a half straight, I feel like. Shawn Michaels, but I mean, any closing thoughts on HBK?
I think you pretty much said it all. I mean, like you said, I mean, in his like you mapped out in his second run. I mean, not a WrestleMania match that he had. That I mean, that is why he's Mr. WrestleMania. I mean, it's not by mistake. It's not by design. It's just that's what he was just so good, and not like you said, not just putting on amazing matches, but with anybody, and not being afraid to put somebody over like John Cena. And I think that's what a lot of guys lack today. They don't have that. That's what takes somebody from being great to being a legend. That's why I have such an affinity for a guy like Macho Man, because of his ability to have great matches with anybody. I mean, if you go back and watch his matches with Andre the Giant was not good, period. And, if you watch the Macho Man match with Andre, which is one of my favorite matches, he actually makes it entertaining, which is not an easy thing to do with a guy like Andre who can barely, get around the ring and do anything. He made it interesting, and that's, in my opinion, what makes a guy go from being great to being a legend, and Michaels is hands down a legend for that aspect.
Yep.
I'm being so passionate.
Yeah, and you talk about guys that can't get around the ring. Again, I immediately think of that WrestleMania match with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 22. Jesus, how can anybody have a match? I mean, we saw down the road, I think it was WrestleMania 26, where he faced Bret Hart, and that was ugly.
Oh my God, yeah, that was brutal.
And that's nobody's fault there, because at that point Bret Hart is already well into his 50s.
Nope.
And Vince McMahon is edging 70, but it's just it's an incredible thing. I'll tell you one thing though. Reading Bret Hart's book, it does make you look at Shawn Michaels a little bit differently. But even Bret Hart has a lot of good things to say about Shawn Michaels in his book, and I definitely recommend it. But again, I really, really, really recommend that you guys check out Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. And you know what? Screw John Cena. I'm going to say that's my favorite Shawn Michaels match. What a storytelling match. The finish of that match is so excellent. You really got to check that one out, and hopefully Angle comes back soon. But I think that pretty much sums it up for today, or this week's episode of Rope Break Radio, fellas. Yeah. Is there anything else that you had holding heavy on your heart?
No.
I think we purged ourselves of everything wrestling related. I
mean, once again, I mean, I don't have to say it. People have said it before. Best damn show on YouTube.
Absolutely.
That's not coming out of my mouth. Let me give you a direct quote from Chris Stover, who may be tuning in right now. Chris Stover said yesterday, "I enjoy watching you guys on YouTube. You are very funny and should have way more subscribers." Well, damn it, Chris, you're right. I couldn't agree with you anymore.
I couldn't agree with him anymore myself.
No.
Damn right we should have more subscribers. You kidding me?
And with that being said, the way you can help us out here is to tell your friends about it. As Matt always says, Matt, tell them about friendship.
Preach.
This is the deal. Do you have friends who love wrestling but have no idea about rope break? You're not a good friend. There's no other way to put it. You are not a good friend. You want to be a good friend? Then you let them know about rope break wrestling and let them tune in each week. But you're not a good friend if you're letting them go by their entire life never knowing about rope break. How could you do that? You should feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And right now, if you're like, I've got some friends that aren't really too much into wrestling, Well, guess what? This might put them over the edge. Show them our New World Order video that we just put up on YouTube, and if you haven't seen it yet, why haven't you seen it yet? You're a subscriber to the channel, aren't you? You might as well go check it out right now, right after we sign off here. Check out the New World Order video. Share it on your Facebook page. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed that you love wrestling and that you love RopeBreakWrestling.com. Tell all your friends that we're just talking about the World Cup and the NBA playoffs and everything else that you didn't want to hear about. Now you can make them hear about something that they don't want to hear about.
Yep.
Tell them get in the ring with Rope Break. Get the hell out of the bleachers. That's all there is to it. For another episode of Rope Break Radio, ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Alec Kozubski.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Matt Donato.
Thank you, guys. Had a blast. We're going to have to do this again. Oh, and we will next week. Don't forget to tune in next week. Same time, same place. Right
That's
here.
Right. Same time,
Rope
same
Break
place.
Wrestling.
We're always here for you guys, and not to be confused with the Ass Man Badass Billy Gunn. I'm AuSSy, and we will catch you next week. Don't forget, we also have the Monday Night Raw React show. So after every single Raw, we will react live for a half an hour after the show, and we'll go over the Raw. That's the next time you can see us live on YouTube. Until then, for RopeBreakWrestling.com, that's Alec, that's Matt, I'm AuSSy. See ya.